The sugar diet goes against everything that I believe is the right way to do things, and that's why I'm going to give it a try. I love an experiment. In today's video, I'm going to break down why I'm switching to the sugar diet, what happened to my no counting, more animal-based whole foods approach, my 6-month TRT blood test results, how I'm setting up the sugar diet myself and the sugar fast, what my starting metrics are, will I lose muscle, and my overall thoughts so far being 4 days in, and do I see this as a long-term diet approach? So let's kick off with why I'm switching to the sugar diet. I've been played on YouTube by the sugar diet, and I'm sure you have as well, as why you're watching this video. And for me, it's a complete counter narrative to everything that I believe to be the right way to do things. I really follow the philosophy of like animal-based eating, like close to what our ancestors did, fasting, all those good things, eating high fat, high protein, going for long periods of time without eating. And then I go and get sideswiped and I suddenly see this sugar diet and I'm seeing all the results that people are getting. I'm hearing about how easy it is to do, and it goes against everything that I believe, and it's just got me curious. I'm very much someone who tries not to be dogmatic on there's one way of doing things and this kind of sounds a bit too good to be true, but in some respect it makes sense. So I wanted to give it a try myself, and I thought, why not do a YouTube video all about it, what my thoughts are initially, and also how I'm going to be using this in regards to preparing for my powerlifting competition in 10 weeks time and my half Ironman in 17 weeks time. So I come across the sugar diet through Mark Bell, and he's very much a diet ninja, someone who, you know, isn't, again, someone that's not dogmatic with the way to eat. And he got Cole Robinson on, and I was intrigued because it just sounded, as I said, a bit too good to be true. And for me, I realized when I look back at all the diets that I've kind of done over the years since about 2008, 2009, they've always been a more like either bodybuilding style approach where I have high protein, moderate carbs and lowish fats, and then I drop the carbs to get lean, or I'm either eating like animal based, so mainly whole foods, thinking about like high fat, high protein, or I'm not eating at all, I'm fasting. And if I'm not following anything, I'm just going absolutely ham on the protein, carbs and fats and just thinking fuck it and not really doing anything. That is probably most of the time of my nutrition. It fuels what I do, it fuels me to train, but it's not necessarily the most optimal diet to follow because it's just kind of gradually put weight on me over the years. So I realized that I never really had a high carb only approach to my nutrition. With this diet in particular, the real key takeaway is sugar in the absence of fat and protein pretty much, and starches, but pretty much sugar in the absence of fat, and that's what gets you lean. Now, when I was watching one of Mark Bell's lives, he mentioned a couple of things which really kind of pricked my ears up. I have an issue with my thyroid, so I've looked at previous blood tests, and it's definitely been something which has not been the greatest. I have poor T3, so I was close to having hypothyroidism. So basically it was a bit underactive. Now, a way you can kind of help support your thyroid is through eating carbohydrates. So that was already something which I was a bit like, all right, cool. I've never really thought of it like that. It's definitely something I can definitely give a go. There was a mention, I think, on Cole Robinson, how he said he wants to get people off of caffeine and coffee and energy drinks and stuff like that. And I am very much reliant upon coffee. I say that, no, I just enjoy it, but I go through a fuck ton of coffee. Me and the wife go through about 1 kilo of coffee every, say, 10 days. And a lot of that is me. So, you know, it's definitely something that I don't like to admit, but it's definitely a bit of a problem. And also I'm noticing that my energy to train has been very much lackluster. Sometimes it's good. Sessions have been okay, energy throughout the session definitely kind of drops off. So when I'm hearing all these potential benefits, I'm like, do you know what? This sounds like a really interesting approach to nutrition, and it's definitely worth giving a try. So what happened to the no counting calories, animal-based approach to my nutrition? I was feeling great. I was feeling really good when I wasn't fasting. When I was fasting, to be fair, I felt quite switched on. I felt pretty sweet. Yeah, I felt good. I say that. And then when I was eating, it was great. I was feeling full. But what I noticed is obviously I have a huge appetite and I can put back a lot of food. And I kind of don't have an off switch because when I'm not eating, I'm thinking about food. And when I'm eating, I'm thinking about what's my next meal, what the next thing is that I'm going to eat. And what I found is I was struggling to kind of, if I wasn't fasting, I was feasting. So I was struggling to kind of manage my calories essentially, because I could create a small portion of food or a smaller portion of food. But then I was getting hungry and I was just like, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to eat a little bit more. It's following the protocol. And I just notice things just started to kind of get a little bit out of hand. Then I just think, fuck it. And then all things will just spiral right. I start again Monday, the classic restart mentality. And it just started to get a bit of a problem, really. And then I noticed as well, I was kind of craving leaner meats and more fruit. So I was having loads of steaks, loads of like full fat meats, like 80-20, probably like 88-12, like that kind of range. And so I started to notice that then I wasn't craving as much red meat, and I was craving more like chicken breasts and more leaner cuts of meats and like lean fish. So I didn't pay too much attention to that, but I was like, okay, this is an interesting thing that is kind of happening. So by deciding to kind of step away from that, and I was kind of just eating a bit like a child, well, not even eating like a child, just eating ridiculous, I thought, right, I need to sort this out and I need to kind of find a different approach. This isn't currently working for me. It's not saying it's not going to work for me in the future, because I love high fat, high protein meals. I love eggs. I love bloody sourdough bread. I love all the good stuff, but it just wasn't serving me for right now. So when this kind of surfaced online a couple of weeks back, that I started to really notice it a lot more, I thought, interesting. And then I got my blood test results back. Now, with my blood test results, I was pretty happy with where most of my markers were, but some of the big ones that were standing out to me are things that can be kind of amended through nutrition. So my testosterone was up at 1100, so definitely on that higher side, which is fantastic for me. Really, really happy with that. However, my estrogen was raised, and it hadn't just raised, it doubled. So my last test was around the 120 mark. So the range, just for reference, is between 41 and 160. My last test came out at 120. This one came out at 231. So that is a very big increase. Now, I hadn't had any of the symptoms of high estrogen. However, I did notice my mood was a little bit low, and that was really about it. Now, I do take some liver support stuff that kind of helps with the conversion from testosterone to estrogen and kind of limit too much. But something what you can do to help lower your estrogen is reduce body fat. So this diet come out, helps you lose weight fast. Right, that's one thing I can do. Then the next thing that really kind of stood out to me, which I really wanted to kind of make a change, was my cholesterol. Now, my LDL had gone up to 4.5. Now the range is anywhere between, say, like 0 to 3. Obviously you don't want to be at 0, but we'll say between 0 and 3. And I was up at 4.51. So that's quite a big jump. And my HDL had actually come down slightly. Now, generally I'm not too stressed about that, but my triglycerides had also gone up slightly. So my ratio wasn't too great. And again, how can you drop cholesterol? As I kind of reduce triglycerides, reduce body fat, and also kind of eat less fat. So again, this diet comes at me at kind of the right time. I'm like, this could be a right time for me to kind of give this a try. So how am I setting up my sugar diet? I've started off with a 3-day sugar fast. It's actually now extended because I feel really good. I started out with 3 days just eating sugar and sugar. So I was having fruit, juices, table sugar, which was really weird. I haven't had table sugar in years, and I was putting it on top of frozen fruit that had been slightly defrosted. Very odd thing to do, and as I said, it's very counter narrative to what I've been believing, so it feels really odd, but it tastes really good. I had some Frosties, which are like frosted flakes, lots of fruit. When I say fruit, lots of all the fruit, so I'm not being particular. So Cole Robinson mentions about wet fruit. I've pretty much gone through bananas, dates, mango, dried mango, all sorts of stuff. Vegetables, I've been having salads at night, which have been pretty tasty. It's been a bit weird not having any protein. That from having an absolute surplus of protein to being pretty much a vegan for the past 3, now going on 4 days today. Very, very odd. But I'm feeling fucking good. Something that Cole Robin has said about sugar fasting is try to string as many sugar fasting days together, especially if you're looking to drop body fat. And I found it a lot easier than I thought. So I'm just sticking with it. I'm not counting any calories. I'm literally eating when I'm hungry. I'm eating pretty consistently. I'm not having like 3 meals a day. I'm thinking, right, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna go to the fridge, have some food. I'm gonna drink myself some apple juice. Again, I haven't had juice in years, so it's awesome and I'm feeling amazing. However, one of the hardest parts for me to actually kind of get over is more the mental barrier about actually eating this much, say, sugar or say fruit and not having all my usual food. So that's been something that I've been kind of struggling with, but you kind of get over it quite quickly once you just keep hammering it back, and how good you start to feel really makes you just think, do you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to just keep cracking away at this. So once I've finished this 5-day sugar fast, on the 6th day, so that'd be Saturday for me, I'm going to introduce some lean proteins and low fat at the end of the day with my salad. So that'll be most likely chicken breast, or it'll be some like 99.1 turkey mince, something like that. And I'll be having that and under 30 grams of fat. So I'm talking about barely any fat. Now, in regards to how much protein I'll be getting, 1 gram per pound of body weight, not lean body weight. So I'm normally getting around that 220 to 250 grams of protein. Now I'm going to be getting about 75 to 100 grams of protein. For the first 4 weeks, I will be looking to try to keep the starches out. The starches, when they do come back in, are generally in that last meal of the day. And as I mentioned already, I'm keeping those fats real low, trying to keep them as low as I possibly can. So trying to aim for under 30 grams or less. Now, the one message that Mark Bell, Cole Robinson, Julian Ryder, like keep hammering home is carbs in the absence of fat. This is the key thing when you're trying to set up your sugar diet. What you need to remember when you're looking at, say, food labels, has this got any fat in it? No, cool, sweet, crack on. Vegetables are going to have some protein. Fruit, there's going to be some trace protein. There's going to be little bits of protein in these carbohydrates, but you're not eating protein sources like your lean meats or your fishes or something like that. Now, even though it's coined the sugar diet, it's kind of coined that to kind of trigger people. It's basically a vegan. So you're basically fruit and veg for most of the day. And when you're sugar fasting, that's what you're having, fruit and veg. But then you're eating meat when you're outside of your sugar fasting. So if you're just doing the normal sugar diet, fruit and sugar throughout the, and then you're going to finish the day on that lean protein source with some vegetables or some salad, whatever you choose. Because even though you can include things like sweets, cereal, shit food like that, the goal of this diet isn't necessarily to shove yourself with all those foods. Yes, those foods are going to give you quick energy. Yes, those foods are going to make you feel pretty good. But I'm still very much of that thought process. I still want to eat nutrient-dense foods because at the end of the day, that is what our body's going to work best on. But at the end of the day, if you're kind of including these things here and there, especially if they're around your workout window, so pre or post training or during training, then sweet, crack on. Choose yourself some, like, as I said, like Frosted Flakes or say Frosties. Choose yourself something like Haribo, something that's got no fat in it. Because at the end of the day, our body's gonna soak up those carbohydrates and use them. What I've been doing for the past 4 days that I've been training, I've been just having a couple of spoonfuls of honey, either before my training or the other day I had some during the session because it just gave me that little bit of a bump of energy and I felt awesome. Now, probably the biggest thing that I've taken from the sugar diet so far that has been the biggest game changer, and I've never had this before. My caffeine intake has dropped significantly. Like, as I mentioned at the start of this video, minimum 6 double espressos a day through either like Americanos or flat whites. Today, I've had 1 coffee. That's unheard of, and I feel completely fine. I didn't even need that coffee. It was just something which I thought, it's a bit of a routine. I like coffee, but I was like, I don't really need this. And to me, that is the biggest thing. For someone, like, I sacked off energy drinks a good while ago because I had a problem there. I was going to petrol stations at like, say, 4:35 in the morning on the way to work, trying to bloody get some Monsters through the kiosk window on the side because you couldn't go in because it wasn't even open yet. At that point, I knew I had a problem. So I sacked them off. And coffee is still, I love coffee. I very, very much love coffee. Anyone knows me knows how much I love coffee, and I'm very particular with my coffee, especially a flat white. So to not have any dairy recently, because I've just been able to have black coffees, you realize actually I was craving more the milk and the flat whites rather than necessarily the coffee per se. Because I'm now having black coffee, I'm like, okay, cool. 3-4 coffees was all right the other day. I had the 4th one. I was like, I don't really need this, but I'm going to have it anyway, out of habit. And then today I'm like, I've had 1 coffee. So I woke up, I had water with my electrolytes. I had my black coffee, and I had a massive thing of orange juice. And that, I think, you know, having the orange juice in the morning gives me that energy that makes me not need coffee. Mind blowing, honestly, that has probably been the biggest game changer for me, which has been really weird. But let's move on. So starting metric, I started out at 108.7 kilos. That's basically 240 pounds. So 4 days later, so that was on Monday, I weighed myself this morning, so Thursday, and I weighed in at 105 kilos, bang on. So that's 231 pounds. I've lost 8.1 pounds, wild, in a couple of days. Now, don't get me wrong, you start any diet, you're gonna have quite a lot of bloat, you're gonna have your body weight drop quite dramatically. But what has been cool has been the past couple of days, has been like half a kilo. So it's basically like a pound a day so far. So pretty good, trending in the right direction. Now, am I worried about losing muscle mass? I am on TRT, so that is definitely going to help with my hormones, and it's definitely going to help with my muscle mass as a whole. I am still training. I'm still telling myself I need that muscle, so my body shouldn't just give it up freely. So to be honest, I don't know. But what I have done is, obviously in my scales, they're not going to be the most accurate scales, but they give me my muscle mass. So at the end of, say, the first 4 weeks, I'll be able to have a proper look, because then by then my body should have calibrated with this sugar diet and kind of seen how it's kind of got on, and I'll be able to take some good metrics. Hopefully in 4 weeks time, I should be under I would like to be about 100, between 100 and 102, around that range, which will be wild, because when I compete in 10 weeks time, I need to be under 100 kilos. So it should be perfect. Now, just in regards to kind of my competition, as I said there, I've got a powerlifting competition in 10 weeks time, and I've got a half Ironman in 17 weeks time. Now, generally, I know when I compete in powerlifting, on competition day, all I want is orange juice, sweets, sugary stuff. That's it. I try to eat like sandwiches or whole foods. It just doesn't work. Just don't really want to eat it. And I know when I train for my half Ironman doing triathlon, it's carbs and more carbs. So for me, I'm like, for the next 17 weeks, I am definitely going to be doing this diet, because at the end of the day, it's going to be giving me the energy to be able to perform. It's helping me lose weight, which means it's going to help me hit my weight class in powerlifting, and also help me be a bit lighter when it comes to triathlon, which anyone that's done triathlon at around 100 kilos, so if you've ran, it's not a good time, shall we say. It's definitely, the lighter you are, the easier it is on the body. So that's a massive win. So do I see this as a long-term diet? Probably not. I do see it as a strategy to use. I love eggs, I love steak, I love meat, so I like to completely negate it out of my diet day to day. I don't necessarily see it as a long-term solution, but what I do see now is having these sugar fasting days have been an absolute game changer. So using a sugar fast day, say for a couple of days of the week, and then having, say, a more like low carb, high fat, high protein day, and then say a low fat, high protein, high carb day, maybe on the weekends and stuff like that. So to go for like a form of carb cycling. But these sugar fast days, I think, are an absolute game changer, because I thought I was going to feel like shit. I feel fantastic. It is still early doors, but as I said, I've lost 8 pounds already, so 3.7 kilos. I feel really good. My caffeine addiction, not really addiction, but my caffeine dependence, shall we say, is pretty much negating. There might be something here. Also, I just love the fact it's counter narrative. It's going against everything that I'm seeing normally. Carnivore, keto, fucking low carb, it's fasting, it's all the stuff that I believe in. But this is going against what I believe in. And that is a good thing to practice sometimes, to not just say it's shit, and actually give it a try before you say it's shit. So anyway, if you're interested in trying the sugar diet, let me know. Drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this and what you're seeing online. And if you've tried it so far, how have you got on? Have you lost weight? Shitting yourself? Have you got disaster pants? What's happening? I'd love to hear all about your journeys, because at the end of the day, this is quite early doors with lots of people jumping on this. So I would love to hear what other people's experiences are. If you did enjoy it, do drop it in the comments as well. You know, let me know what you'd like to see. I keep saying I plan to do weekly videos, but that is my goal. I do plan on kind of getting some more videos out there, some full day of eatings around this style of diet. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll be doing full days of eating so you guys can kind of get a bit of an idea there. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I'll catch you in the next video.